How's it going? Welcome to a special Saturday live stream here on the NoDQ.com YouTube channel. A Saturday afternoon live stream. It's something I do not do very often, but we have unusual circumstances. AEW Dynamite aired on Friday night after SmackDown instead of the usual Wednesday night time slot. And I figured I would give my thoughts on Dynamite and also talk about that Tony Khan promo that went up on AEW's social media accounts. Definitely something that got a lot of people talking. If anything, more people were talking about that than either SmackDown or Dynamite. I will give my thoughts on that at the end of the video. Give people a chance to tune in live. I know this is, again, an unusual time slot for me, noon Eastern, doing a live stream. Maybe some new people that regularly do not get a chance to tune in live will be able to do so because of the time. Let's go ahead and break down the Dynamite episode. What was probably the most noteworthy thing about this Dynamite was the fact that we had the old Daily's Place configuration with the fans at ringside again, and you had fans up on the stage. It felt like a normal Dynamite from the old days with the fans coming back, and to me that made a big difference. The show itself was okay. It was pretty much just final build up for the pay-per-view. You had some showcase matches, you had promos, but no significant storyline development, just hammering home what the matches are and what's on the line. But I'll go ahead and run down the show, give my thoughts. And Brian, I did apologize to Jeff privately. I was getting on his case. I was joking about the whole Demi Lovato thing, but I should let Jeff say what he wants. It's free speech, and I wasn't really upset with what he said. I just know people are going to react, especially when we stream the No DQ review on Twitter and Facebook. Twitter especially. You guys know how people on Twitter are. They might be watching that and they're like, well, that's it. I'm not watching No DQ anymore. So it was meant to be a joke, but I also did not want to come off as insensitive, and that's why I called him out as a joke. But Jeff can say what he wants on the videos. I let him say what he wants and what Virtue wants. That's part of the fun of it, everybody being able to have an opinion. And Jeff obviously did not intend to say something that was hurtful. Anyways, let's move on from that and get to the show. We kicked off with Darby Allin versus Cesar Bononi. Sting was out there with Darby. It was, again, a showcase match for Darby Allin. And Cesar got a little bit of offense, but Darby did pick up a fairly quick victory with the coffin drop. And it was more about the post-match, building up the Double or Nothing match, which of course will be Darby Allin and Sting teaming up against Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page. You had Page and Sky come down to the stage and they cut a promo, said that everybody's going to have to wait until Sunday. It's going to be the end of a legend and the beginning of two new legends. And then we had a bunch of heels, a bunch of random guys attacking Sting and Darby, and Scorpio Sky and Page tried to pick up the pieces, but then the Dark Order ran down and made the save. Huge reaction for the Dark Order. The fans really love the Dark Order. It's crazy how the Dark Order went from being this despised group in AEW, and not for good reason. People just legitimately did not like the group. And now they're one of the most popular acts in the company. It's quite remarkable how that all turned around, and I think the late, great Brody Lee definitely deserves some credit for that. And, of course, the Dark Order guys starting to come into their own as characters. And nothing, as far as my predictions go for the pay-per-view, nothing is different. I'm still going with what I predicted. And if you guys missed the predictions video, it is up on the channel. You can check that out. I feel exactly the same as I did. The go home show for Dynamite really did nothing to change that. But really cool to see the fans again. And I think AEW did a very good job with how they shot everything. They made sure to not show the empty seats. They focused on the ringside area and the fans. The camera angles were good. And I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed seeing the fans back. Brock Lesnar guy was there at ringside. So there you go. A sign that things are getting back to normal. We're starting to see the super fans in the stands again. Next up, we had Paul White hosting the weigh-in for Cody Rhodes versus Anthony Ogogo. QT was with his crew, the Nightmare Factory, and he was totally insulting the crowd and trying to work the crowd and all that. You had Cody Rhodes come down to the ring with all of his students, and you had an American flag, you had a UK flag, and it was just like the UFC. Cody Rhodes stripped down to his underwear and was flexing, and it took a while. Yeah, as Nick Glavin just pointed out here, Paul White was struggling with the scale. The segment did drag on, in my opinion. I agree with what a lot of people said on social media about it. Colin Andrews says weigh-ins in pro wrestling don't work for me, and Urias Tosh says the weigh-in was awful. I get what AEW's going with. They want to make it feel like an actual sport. It feels like UFC, but yeah, it kind of dragged on a bit and really served no purpose. It's one of those time filler segments that the WWE is notoriously known for, except they're trying to present it like a sport. And again, QT was calling the fans idiots. Mr. Tito is here. Mr. Tito, check out his new column. He's got a very lengthy column up on NoDQ.com. He covered like 6 or 7 different topics from the past week. And you might like some of his comments, you might not, but Mr. Tito is very opinionated. And if you appreciate that, you'll like his columns. Mr. Tito says Paul White was sweating profusely trying to adjust that scale. And the segment finished up with just them taking turns playing to the fans, which was cool. We haven't seen this in a long time, with Cody standing up on the turnbuckle, getting the fan pop, and you had a go going over by the stage and everybody booing him. So, I think they were just having fun with the fans being there at ringside. But yeah, the segment overall, it was just filler. Cindy G is here. How's it going, Cindy? Thank you for tuning in. And again, she was part of our predictions panel. You can check that out on the No DQ channel. And I will be back Sunday night after the Double or Nothing pay-per-view to recap the show. And of course, there will be live results over on NoDQ.com. We had a video package hyping up the Stadium Stampede match. Clips from last year were shown. Good stuff here. We had a backstage brawl between Christian and Will Hobbs, 2 of the participants in the Casino Battle Royale at Double or Nothing. Referees were trying to break them up, and it was indicated that maybe these guys won't be 100% going into the pay-per-view. Again, I'm not changing my prediction. I still think Christian will win. Maybe the 21 entrant will win. We'll see. But my safe bet is Christian. We then had Hangman Adam Page versus Joey Janela with Sonny Kiss. And this was a pretty solid match. I mean, Joey Janela hasn't done much in a while. He's just basically there as enhancement talent. It was a showcase for Page, and Page hit a pop-up power bomb at the end, and somehow you had Page, his foot connected, or Janela's foot connected with Paige, and Paige just got busted open, like big time. From his move to Janela, Paige somehow got busted open from it. It was the foot, the boot, something just stuck Paige right in the face, and he was bleeding like a madman. He hit the buckshot lariat, picked up the win. And then after the match, we got Taz on the microphone. He introduced Brian Cage, and then Hook arrived, and Page got on the mic, said he was expecting this, you know, the numbers game being against him, and he dared Brian Cage to try to go at it alone. Does Brian Cage really need help? Maybe his balls shrunk up. And then Page said, "Why don't you leave those assholes out of it?" And Cage responded by saying he doesn't need their help. He didn't need their help last time, and he doesn't need it for Sunday's Double or Nothing pay-per-view. Nick Lavin says the blood helped with the post-match mic work. And Colin Andrews says Adam versus Bryan could be the sleeper match of the night contender. And the announcers even played up on, you know, everything that we've all joked about. Adam Page, Brian Cage, the Rage. They did the rhyming. That was funny. We had a promo from Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston to hype up their tag team titles match against the Young Bucks. They were in a backyard. They had the shoes that they stole from last week. There was a bit of a mishap. The promo started airing, and then we went to a commercial. But then, of course, when we came back from commercial, they re-aired the promo. I like Moxley's shirt, bitch AF. And yeah, they just said the pressure's coming. Nice little promo here from these guys. We then had Tony Schiavone, who was supposed to be interviewing Orange Cassidy to get the answer. Would Orange Cassidy step down from the triple threat match? What's going to happen with that? But instead we had Pac hijacking the segment, cut a promo, said he's vowing to win the match, called out Kenny Omega. We then had Don Callis on the screen as a distraction. Omega tried to attack Pac, and Pac managed to get the upper hand, but then the Good Brothers ran down, and Omega got the upper hand. Omega went for the one-winged angel, but then Orange Cassidy and the Best Friends arrived, and Orange pulled out a note for Kenny, and Kenny opened it, and it was the contract. However, the contract had been shredded. Omega got his answer. Orange punched to Omega, and then an orange punch to Pac as well. Orange Cassidy, last man standing. Again, doesn't change anything. I still think we will see the champion Omega retain at Double or Nothing. Then we had Jade Cargill interviewed backstage, and she was approached by Matt Hardy, Big Money Matt, and Matt was, I guess, trying to become her manager, trying to be her business partner. But then it was revealed that Mark Sterling won the bidding. Why Mark Sterling? I don't know. So in kayfabe terms, if you're on the rise and you want a manager, why would you pick Mark Sterling over Matt Hardy? Just wondering. And Mark Sterling apparently made a better deal because he only gets paid when she wins. And we had a match with Kylan King, and she's apparently been wrestling on AEW Dark a lot, but this was basically a squash match. Jade picked up the win fairly quickly here. Not much to say about it. Mr. Tito with a $2 super chat says, Kenny looked goofy with the backwards hat on. Well, did he look as goofy as Tony Khan? And we'll get to that in a few minutes here. Nick Lavin says, I agree, got to go with Big Money Matt. And Kim Hall says, I don't understand this Jade Cargill thing. She's been saying all along that she doesn't need a manager. Well, she pretty much just wanted a manager if the terms were right. And I guess, well, the terms were right with Mark Sterling. I mean, what has Mark Sterling done anyways as far as a character goes in AEW? I think he was, what was he, MJF's lawyer? And then what else did he do? Like, I don't even know. So yeah, kind of strange to me, but whatever. Gives that guy something to do. We had Lance Archer cut a little promo on Miro, and then we had Miro versus Dante Martin for the TNT title. Raise your hand if you thought Dante Martin was going to win the title. Okay, not everybody at once. Crowd was loving the beatdown. Miro was just destroying this guy. They chanted one more time. Miro showboated, and then that kind of backfired on him. Dante got in a little bit of offense, did some flips, but in the end, he could not put away Miro. He got like a 1 count. Miro quickly made short work of him with the game over. And we're back. We're back to somewhat normalcy here because now they're cutting to all these camera angles of the fans acting shocked and their reactions to everything. Kind of like what WWE was doing, and people were complaining about that. We haven't really seen it in a while, but if they start doing this every week, cutting to the fans for every little thing, it might get to be a bit obnoxious, just like it was back before the pandemic started. And Tito says they are finally getting Miro right. I agree with that. Took them long enough. I mean, this should have been what they were doing with him from the get-go. After the match was over, we had Jake Roberts and Lance Archer come up on the stage and cut a promo. Jake said the fairy tale will be coming to an end. Miro tried to respond, but he was having some mic issues and told the old fart Jake Roberts to shut up. And Archer got in the ring. Miro attempted to use the championship, but Archer got the upper hand, kicked Miro out of the ring. We had a bunch of referees run down, trying to break things up, and Archer picked up the title, held it up high. I still think Miro will be retaining on Sunday. We had a celebration. Hikaru Shida just celebrated 1 full year as the champion in AEW's women's division, and she was presented with a new championship, which I really like. I think it's definitely an improvement. That other title was just too small, in my opinion. I'm glad they made a bigger title for her, although she's probably going to lose it right away. And of course, they're playing up on the idea that she carried the women's division during the pandemic, which I would say is accurate. And she did cut a promo. There were no fans, but they're back now, and the title is for them. And then we had an interruption from Britt Baker. Britt did praise Shida for being champion during the most difficult time in the world and all that, but said that she made a mistake. Britt made a mistake. When she did that sit-down interview a few weeks ago, she said she was the face of the women's division, but she said that that's actually wrong. She's the face of a new era. Just like there was the 316 era, there is now going to be the DMD era. I liked this promo a lot, and again, I think we need a new champion here. At least Shida will get to defend the title with a packed house. I'm happy for her in that regard, but I do think it's time for a title change. And Michael Wayne says, what are your thoughts on the AEW Spanish commentary mocking Shida's accent? Yeah, I did see that, and it would be unfortunate if that guy loses his job. Would not surprise me if he just gets fired. I mean, they might have to just tell him you need to take some sensitivity courses or something. I could see them either outright firing him, or at the very least they'll make him take classes or something. But yeah, that was a little strange, I must say. Feel bad for Shida on that one. Like, that's the kind of thing like maybe a 1980s wrestler would do for heel heat, but why would a commentator do that? And apparently it was a live mic and they were on a break, but yeah, that in a way that makes it even worse. Like, yeah, it was not good. Next up, we had Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page against Evil Uno and Stu Grayson of the Dark Order. And the crowd was absolutely loving the Dark Order, like I said earlier. They were chanting for Uno. I feel like these guys might have been the most over act on the entire show. Like, it's crazy how much people like the Dark Order now. And they almost pulled off the upset. Good match here. I mean, this was probably the best match of the show, in my opinion. Dark Order almost picked up the win, but I mean, I wasn't really expecting them to win again. This show was mainly showcase matches, building up the guys that had matches at the pay-per-view. Nothing wrong with it, but it wasn't. I felt like because this was on Friday night, preempted because of the NBA playoffs, they weren't going to really do any kind of crazy ass show with these major angles. They were just gonna finish up the build up for Double or Nothing, put over the guys that have the pay-per-view matches. So it was standard. It was a lot of just what you would expect if you're gonna finish up the hype for the show and hammer down all the points of what's on the line and whatnot. So anyways, Scorpio Sky put on the heel hook and Ethan Page hit the Ego's Edge, and they picked up the win over the Dark Order. And afterwards, we had Darby Allin come down to the ring with Sting's army, a bunch of guys wearing Sting masks. And as it turns out, one of them was Sting. This was a gimmick that was done in WCW where Sting had all the fake Stings, and then Sting would pull off the mask and it would actually be him. They did the same thing here. It was all right, just it's a rehash of what was done before, but it was fine. We then had our final segment of the evening, which was a celebration of the Inner Circle, hosted by Eric Bischoff. Bischoff making another appearance here on Dynamite. And he talked about 25 years ago, Scott Hall showed up on Nitro, and that led to one of the greatest factions of all time being created. And now he gets to talk with another one of the greatest factions. Jericho and company came down to the ring, and Jericho said it's great to be surrounded by the fans again. They were all going nuts for the song. I mean, they're singing pretty much the entire Judas song now. And Jericho thanked Bischoff, and they had a greatest hits video shown, which was really cool. All the great moments of the Inner Circle since the beginning of Dynamite. There was a big Inner Circle chant. Everybody took turns talking, and I think it's Santana. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm still having trouble knowing which guy is which after all this time. Kind of like the Usos, but I mean with the Usos they look alike, so I mean that's more understandable. Santana and Ortiz do look a bit different, but I still mix them up sometimes. I think it's Santana who cut a really good promo. Said that they've done some pretty cool shit over the years. They carried the company through a pandemic, and now they're back with the best fans in the world. If it's their last time on Dynamite, he would not want it to be any other way. And we eventually had Jericho get back on the mic and said if they're going down in a blaze of glory. They all did the middle fingers, but then we had an interruption from MJF, who was in the stadium that's adjacent to Daly's place, and they had kidnapped Dean Malenko. And they said, you better get over here and do something. So, of course, everybody runs down to the stadium, which I'm thinking to myself, boy, you guys are stupid. This is a trap. You're being set up. And, of course, that's exactly what it was. I get it. These type of segments have been done for years, but I always just think to myself, it's obviously a trap and you're falling for it. Because, of course, they got jumped from behind and there were some tables set up. And FTR did dueling pile drivers to Santana and Ortiz through these tables to end this episode of Dynamite. So the bad guys got the last laugh. I'm still not going to change my prediction. I still think the Pinnacle will win, even though they were on top. And back in the day, if this was 1998 or something, I would say, well, the faces are definitely winning. But I still think the Pinnacle will win. And I agree with Nick Lavin. It was a little awkward because they were just standing there in the position for the pile driver ready to go. And the second one of the two pile drivers looked a bit more painful. It didn't look like the table broke at all. And it just looked more of a nasty bump. So overall, Dynamite was okay. Not a great show, but perfectly acceptable as far as a go-home show goes. I'd probably give it a B-. I did enjoy it. Wasn't anything that was stellar or anything you need to really go out of your way to see, but it was a totally fine 2-hour broadcast. The fans being back was really cool. If anything, I think it's worth watching because of the novelty of it being the first show back with fans at ringside and having that pre-pandemic feel. So I would say watch it just for that reason alone. But yeah, I mean, it didn't really change anything as far as storylines go. Cindy gives it a B, as does Wade. Calvin Bowman with a B+, Israel Diaz with a C+, Michael Wayne with a B-, and Urias Tosh with a B. All right, so one last thing I'll talk about here, which I'm sure a lot of you are wondering my thoughts on. The Tony Khan promo. Of course, there's this big rumor about WWE and New Japan Pro Wrestling being in talks to have an exclusive partnership, and I'll believe it when I see it. Like, I do not see WWE ever really doing something like that because Vince wants control. I mean, as long as Vince is in charge, I really don't see it happening. Now, maybe Nick Khan, who's the president of WWE, is getting more influence, but I just can't imagine Vince ever signing off on this. Now, Tony Khan responded to it. This did not air on Dynamite. This went up on AEW's social media channels like Twitter and Facebook and whatnot. Tony was basically playing the dorky promoter gimmick that he's been doing on Impact Wrestling. And he took a shot at Nick Khan. He said there's only room for one Khan in the wrestling business, and that's him, Tony Khan, not a con man from Connecticut. I think that this was a good and a bad move. I think it was a good move because he did it in a very strategic way. This promo went up right about when SmackDown started. And were people talking about SmackDown on my Twitter timeline? A little bit, but the majority of the comments I saw on my feed were about Tony Khan. So in a way, as far as marketing goes, to hype up Dynamite and get people talking about AEW instead of SmackDown, I think this was a great move. It worked. People were talking about Tony Khan and AEW instead of SmackDown. I was distracted. I'm trying to watch SmackDown, and all this stuff is going on with Tony Khan and all these comments, and I'm focused on that instead of SmackDown. I'm trying to watch SmackDown so I can do my recap. So I do think that was a clever idea. Now, how are people reacting to Tony Khan? I think the AEW faithful probably loved it, but I think anybody else probably saw it and just laughed at it and think that it's pathetic. Like, what is this accomplishing in the long run? Is Tony Khan playing a character, or is this how he really feels? Like, is he just trying to work people up and get attention for AEW Dynamite? Like, he comes off as like the biggest dork on the planet when he does these promos, and Tony Schiavone's like, this was a great promo. Anybody that thinks that Tony Khan doesn't know how to cut a promo, you don't know what you're talking about. So, Tony Schiavone's backing him up. But yeah, Khan comes off, whether it's intentional or not, and this might be what he feels is a good character to get attention, being over the top with the dorky persona with the sunglasses and his arms crossed and all that. And he mentions the Wrestling Observer, which of course gets people upset. I think Tony probably thinks this is good for business and it gets more eyeballs on Dynamite. I'm not sure it's really going to be good or bad for AEW. I mean, the people that love Tony Khan love AEW. Like, nothing's going to change with that. But I don't think it's going to bring in new fans. I think most people that are not really following AEW or on the fence about it, they're going to see that promo and they're going to be like, well, this is stupid. This is second rate. This guy's a joke. He doesn't know how to cut a promo. And it's not going to bring in new viewers. But I think it was a nice idea to do that, whether it leads to more pay-per-view buys, whether it helped with the viewership, and who knows if it did or not. I mean, that really remains to be seen. So I would not advise Tony Khan doing this character on Dynamite. It did not go on the actual show. I mean, that would probably be a mistake. And of course, people would compare it to Dixie Carter. So if he's going to do it every once in a while for a joke and just to play up on a situation, which in this case he was, there's this rumor out there, and maybe Tony thought, hey, this is a good opportunity to get some publicity for Dynamite at the 10 o'clock hour. Like, okay, it's fine to me. It got me some website traffic. But yeah, I don't know how effective it was in the execution. So anyways, guys, thank you for tuning in. I know this is a weird time. I'm sure I'll get some on-demand viewership for this. Thank you to the people that did tune in live. I appreciate your viewership and support. Cindy says Khan needs to work on his character. And Colin Andrews says Tony showed his inner spoiled rich kid here for sure. Thank you guys again for tuning in. I will be back for the post Double or Nothing recap on Sunday night. It's going to be late, midnight, somewhere after there. Take care, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Memorial Day weekend, and I will see you all next time.